Welcome to The Cynical Developer, the podcast that helps you to improve your development knowledge and career through explaining the latest and greatest in development technology and providing you with what you need to succeed as a developer. We've recently launched our Patreon page, which can be found at cynicaldeveloper.com/Patreon. If you aren't familiar with Patreon, it's an easy way for those who are interested in this show to help out by simply pledging a small amount each month in sponsorship. Now that could be as little as $5 a month, which is about £3.80, or as much as you like. You will enable us to dedicate more time creating more content to help you, including videos, more blog posts, and even more shows. So if you can, head over to cynicaldeveloper.com/Patreon and get involved. In this episode, I wanted to address something that really grinds my gears. And it's developers always wanting to roll their own when there is a perfectly good solution out there for you to consume. Or, even worse, is when they give you an excuse for why they want to roll their own, and that excuse is, because I can do it better. Now, there seems to be two kinds of developers that the I'll roll my own because I can do it better comes from, and those tend to be new developers who are fresh to the world of professional programming, who haven't yet had the delight of the stark realization that they don't actually know the best way to do everything. And it's not a bad thing that they don't know that, but they don't know that it's not a bad thing. Anyway, the second is the middle of the road developer. You know the kind of dev I'm talking about. It's those that don't strive to improve themselves. You know, they're pretty happy where they are, and why should they try and improve themselves? Because you can't improve on perfection, right? Anyway, both of these views are very toxic to a team. The first can be fixed, and that normally comes with experience and an explanation of why you shouldn't roll your own, which is what I hope this episode will bring. But the second, if you can change that opinion of that developer, then you're some sort of wizard, or at very least you must be Darren Brown, because I've given up fighting the good fight for most of the time with this second type of developer, because it's just not worth your time, the stress, and the energy. The only way that I found to actually combat this is to tell them to go do it, then prove that what they're doing isn't sufficient, and then use something that's already out there. So some examples of software that developers claim that they can do better, and they obviously can't, but there are exceptions. I'll hold my hands up to that. But let's focus on the majority here, are CSV parsing. If you actually understand the problems and the nuances of CSV files in all their forms and formats, you wouldn't bother trying to roll your own. And damn it, no, it's not just splitting a file on the line endings and the commas. Not that simple. And once you've given it a go, and you've put a few files through of your own, it works, and then you get a real CSV file from a third party, or somewhere else, and it doesn't work, you'll understand. Just go and use a version that's already available for you. My personal favourite is data encryption. This is one that will come along and I just throw my hands in the air and I'll just walk away saying that you're beyond help. Unless you're a cryptographer, then please do not say you can roll better encryption than what's already available in whichever framework you use. Now, a third one, and I think this one there is slightly amusing, although it was infuriating to work with. It was the oddest home-rolled code or software that I came across, and that was a third party that had created their own implementation of XML. Now, by their own implementation of XML, what I mean is that the developer that came up with this, I think, had once seen an XML document from a distance in the dark when it was foggy. They were blind drunk when they saw it. The next day when they were hungover, they realised they needed to build an API that needed to return some XML. But rather than just using an XML serializer that was currently available, they thought, I'll build my own. I know what an XML document should look like. Let's give this a go. And what they produced, it was kind of XML. It looked like XML for the most part, but it was far from any legal XML, and you couldn't serialize it with any of the more robust, the more mature serializers that are already available. And this was a .NET project, so it was the serializers that are in the .NET framework. So I ended up having to write regex and string splitters to get the data out of the XML. I'm not going to name names on who it was, but it was a large international freight company. Anyway, I digress. So back to the matter at hand. Now, I'm not discouraging anyone here from trying to create their own CSV parser or their own encryption or serializer or whatever. Please do go out there and do that. It's one of the best ways to learn, and I've even done it. I started building clones of Instagram to see what I could do with different frameworks and things like that. Seems futile, but you learn something from it. So do go out there and give these a go. But don't do it as part of your day job and try to push it into a production application. You're just asking for trouble. And the biggest reason for not rolling your own, it's not even down to whether you are up to writing it or not. It's down to the simple fact of what were you hired to do. You weren't hired, in most cases, to write everything from scratch. You were hired to solve problems as quickly and effectively as possible. And as a quick example, say that you've been asked to store some sensitive data, needs to be encrypted. You don't need to spend 4 years perfecting your own encryption algorithm. You just use something straight out of the box. You get the job done in 5 or 10 minutes, roll on to the next problem. And that's really the long and short of it. You're not as smart as some of these professors and these teams and that are out there building these encryption algorithms. So don't bother for your day job. Really, really don't bother. And okay, so that's a lot of negativity, I know. Maybe this headache and sore throat are finally getting to me. But let's try some positivity, shall we? When is it okay to roll your own? Very, very rarely. Okay, so the positivity thing didn't last any time, really. But anyway, you could argue that the following are times when it's okay to roll your own. When nothing out there does what you need, or when nothing out there can be extended to do what you need. But there's always a caveat. Take heed to those two. They might appear as being as good examples of when it's okay to roll your own. But what those 2 points are, really, is simply a point to the fact that you're probably doing something wrong. The problem you've got, 98% of the time, is not going to be a unique problem. Your problem is not a special snowflake. Somebody somewhere has had that issue before. There's probably a solution out there for it in one shape or another. So always go back, look at what you're doing. Are you doing it the right way? Is that the right approach to the problem that you've got? Just some food for thought on that one. So that's it for today. I hope my sore throat hasn't been too hard to listen to, and I hope my negativity hasn't been worse than normal. But until next time, thank you for listening to The Cynical Developer. I'm James Stoddart, and this was Rolling Your Own Software. If you have any questions about this or any other episode, then drop us an email, a tweet, or leave a comment on the website where you can find all the resource links, show notes for each episode. And if you enjoy this episode, please leave a review on your favourite podcast platform, iTunes, Stitcher, whatever it is, and help The Cynical Developer to reach more developers around the globe.